Welcome to Kim and Angela Talk. Kim is a biodynamic craniosacral therapist, PSYCH-K facilitator, curious human, forever student, and a loving mom. Angela is a Reiki master, PSYCH-K facilitator, metaphysical nerd, compulsive learner, and childless cat lady. Come along for the ride as they explore the mysteries of the universe and their own lives, all while enjoying a good laugh together.
Welcome to Kim and Angela Talk. I'm Angela.
And I'm Kim.
Hey. And hey, Kim, how's it going today?
It is going well.
Awesome.
It is going well. Yeah. How about for you?
It's been going interesting.
Okay. That
Well,
sounds interesting.
as you know, I've been studying the emotion code.
Right.
So I did a lot of releases on myself yesterday. So, and have been, working with practice, since I'm in the certification part of the program right now, been working with some practice clients.
Right.
And so it's been really interesting to see how effective it is. And also not just for myself, but for other people, and how and experimenting with myself, how what comes up for me and stuff. So that's been pretty cool.
Nice.
And then just kind of having sort of interesting, days, I think, because I've been so immersed in my healing process still, like it's a continuing journey and stuff. So yeah, and this emotion code stuff has been bringing up a lot of things, and I actually yesterday when I did a bunch of releases related to my gallstones and stuff, I was like, wow, no wonder I spent so much of my adult life depressed and borderline suicidal.
Wow.
Because
Lots of stuff.
a lot of stuff got trapped when I was a kid, when I was a little kid. A lot of trapped emotions. Because I know you know some about the emotion code because I've worked with you with it, and we worked with our friend Claire. But just the fact it's having everything's energy, and emotions are energy, and as a doing Reiki, we know that Reiki is all about clearing energy blockages out of our body, and as is BCST, which we both know, and you are a certified practitioner in that. And also PSYCH-K is also about transforming energy within ourselves. So all these modalities, what do? We're always transforming, releasing energy that's stuck in our body that's like impacting our ability to be healthy, to actualize ourselves. And I keep coming to this over and over again anyway, but it was and it actually kind of ties into the message I got for myself today.
Cool. There we go.
Which is why
the universe knows. Yep.
Right. Because my message today was from my witch deck. You see that? Women in total control of herself.
Nice.
And it's 30, Goddess of Grace. If you can see that.
Oh, it's a beautiful card.
Isn't that great? So, the way I do my messages, I sort of narrow it down, and this one was, the specific lines in this card for this message are, but she's also willing to take action, cutting away the shame and sting of her own transgression with the sword of accountability. Of course I have to read my own handwriting. She makes amends and resolves to do better. So when I was thinking about this after drawing the message, and after I was thinking about the work I've been doing recently, like releasing these trapped emotions, I was like, it's a lot of this work, this healing work is about being kind to yourself and forgiving yourself too. I mean, forgiving other people, but forgiving yourself, because I was just thinking, in my past life when I worked in higher education, I, wasn't always the nicest person. Shocking.
I know. This is an Angela of old. You're talking when you said past lives. First, I was thinking like past lives. I'm like,
Oh, no.
higher education and a past life too.
Oh, yeah,
That's
no.
cool.
When I worked at the Evergreen State College.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
No, I wasn't, I was still, that was before I was working on myself. Obviously, I had changed a lot during the 10 years that I worked there.
Mhm.
But, like, it wasn't, it wasn't really until Reiki that really things progressed to the point where I was able to shed so much trauma, so much of the energy of trauma that had been stuck in my body. Like my first session with Melinda, my first teacher, was amazing. It was a huge release of like generational trauma from my mother's line. And so in my past life, or like in not even really just in the past of like Reiki or working at Evergreen, but just even in the time since then, even during this journey, realizing how much it's like, okay, yeah, sometimes I've been a real bitch, and definitely before doing this work, and like when I was working at Evergreen or as an undergrad, and knowing that I like hurt people, because of like my own pain, the saying, hurt people. Well,
Right.
so true.
Well, that's how the trauma keeps going, right? Yep.
Right. Yeah. It's like, let's spread the pain. Why not?
Yeah.
So just like this message coming to me today was interesting, because like a lot of the trapped emotions that I'd been releasing since starting to learn the emotion code was stuff that happened when I was a little kid, like before the age of 5,
Oh, okay.
Actually, and some of them also in utero that I absorbed from my mother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I have trapped emotions that I had to release that I absorbed. Not as many as for my mom, but like for my dad and my brother. Like I was just like this little sponge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are, right? At a younger age, we're just bring it all. Just bring it on. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah. And just feeling that, being able to like look at that, and then also I did some emotion code stuff for my mom and my dad, and like some of the things, they absorbed from their parents. One of the ones I released from my mom, she absorbed from her, or actually one of the ones I released from me, I absorbed from her. That was an inherited emotion, actually, from her great grandfather. So it's like a lineage of pain. It's a lineage of pain.
They're not lying when they say that 7 generations back are carried forward, right?
Right.
And we have such limited knowledge of that distance back. It doesn't seem like 7. Well, it doesn't seem that much. But when you think back, well, it's your grandparents. You might know something about your great grandparents. And then beyond that, it's like anybody, yeah. So
totally.
So it's interesting to see what has come down the line.
I know, right? And like the one that I inherited from my great great grandfather from my mom's side was like a inherited trapped emotion of sorrow.
Oh,
like, I know. A lot of times when I'm looking at this, like when I was looking at the stuff for when I was a little kid, at first I was like, especially the ones that I absorbed from my mom, or like that were like that just happened from like 2 or 4 years old, that range, of emotions that I trapped that were mine from whatever events were going around. And I know what some of those things were. I was like, what a horrible burden to put on a little child, right? Like this, like, and then it's sort of like, no wonder. I mean, because when I was little, I was also, would not hesitate to beat the crap out of any kid who messed with my brother, so like, I was a little spitfire, and so it's interesting because like, as I'm releasing this stuff, I was like, and I was thinking about this stuff yesterday, I was like, kind of like doing a little woe is me kind of like, oh, here's my tiny violin. Here's my tiny violin.
Yeah, really
and it's playing just for me. But really, I mean, it's not my parents' fault. I mean, they both had terrible childhoods, you know, and they weren't really um prepared to be parents and stuff. And like there's just a whole, you know, trauma on both of their sides, you know, from all the things that I know, and I'm sure way more that I don't know. So I kind of got over the little bit of what was me, but I love the fact that this message comes up to say, you know, it's like to make amends, to have that forgiveness, not just for myself, but for those who hurt me. And also to feel, you know, remorse, and to also send love to the people that I've hurt in the past just from being unconscious. Because there are definitely a number of things that like I think back on and I feel, you know, shame about them, you know, that like I acted that way towards that person. And it's not like it was their fault. They just happened to be in the way of Angela at the time.
Right.
You know, sorry. I'm so sorry for anybody who's watching this and they're like, hey, I know you.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Oh gosh.
I am deeply, deeply sorry. Believe me, I really would take it back, you know, if I could. But also the idea then of just going forward and being kind to yourself and doing better, making amends, and continuing to do this work. So when I was immersed in it, before I really was aware of things about healing and like knew anything about trauma or, you know, the effects that it had on you, like I didn't know anything about ACEs until like, I don't know, like the adverse childhood experience scale, that stuff, until, you know, like I was doing the master's program at Evergreen. And I was like, oh yeah, I have those.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
So I didn't know any of that stuff, you know, and I was just kind of like bumbling along trying to do the best I can, like most people are, you know, and just realizing how much, you know, I've changed since then. Like, and really, I mean, and I was working on myself before I found Reiki and doing a little bit better, a little bit better. Reiki was very pivotal for me. And then just everything that I've done since then, that we've done together since then, has just made everything so much like just continuing this journey, this progress of going higher and higher, as like, you know, releasing stuff and letting things go. And the other thing that like really speaks to me about this message is like, because I've done this work and I've had my own experiences, anybody that I work with, there is no judgment. I get it. I understand, you know, I understand like a lot, you know, like I don't like I self-medicated in the past with weed and booze, and you know, like they say the body's a temple. Well, for a long time my temple had empty beer bottles and and broken bongs and little plastic baggies all in the corners.
There was a time. Yeah.
I'm cleaning it up now.
Well,
but you know, so being able to bring that understanding, and also just the thing of like, hey, I get it, you know, no judgment on this part because I've been there, you know. And so I feel like that helps me. Definitely, all of my experiences definitely help me in my work with people, and you know, also really drive me to want to help others, you know.
Because you can kind of see the other side of it. Right.
Well, because like honestly, because I can do it, you know, and I mean, I have friends and I know people who like had way worse things happen to them when they were kids. And like people that I'm like, it's kind of amazing that you get out of bed in the morning. But I also feel that way about myself sometimes. It's kind of amazing that I'm actually still here.
Yeah. We're pretty resilient given that, you know, as far as that goes, that there's still the coping mechanisms that we're either born with or figure out or use or whatever to just get by. So yeah, we're pretty cool as humans, I think, in that way.
Yeah. But it's also, there's getting out of bed, but then there's also like, being like, okay, well, I'm ready to also get better,
Right.
to do the work,
Yeah.
so that I can actually live a life that I want to live,
Mhm.
that I can actually be a happy person, and it's definitely, I mean, still working on it
Yeah.
always
Yep.
till I die.
There's the down, there's the sideways. Life still comes at you, but we got the tools now. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, just having like, so really long way to say, yeah, I've been doing all right. I've been doing good, doing
you've
good,
been
good, doing
doing
good.
well this week. That's
And
good.
really, yeah, and just really kind of happy about where I am right now. And the fact that, even though at first when I heard about the emotion code, I was like, whatever.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah.
Yeah. But then experiencing it, getting that session with Claire, who hopefully we'll have on at a future episode,
Yes, she's amazing.
really sold me. And then starting to do the work myself and seeing the change in myself and other people are like, is amazing. Of course, I can say that about everything we do. It's like I feel the same when I started doing PSYCH-K,
Yep.
when I started doing BCST, when I started doing Reiki. It's like, this is amazing because it all is. That's the best thing. It is all amazing.
Great. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, there's like some people are always like, oh, well, I just do this. I just do Reiki or I just do PSYCH-K or whatever. It's like, why?
Yeah.
There's so many great things out there. But I mean, that's great for them. But I'm definitely I love all of it. And I'm actually I'm working on like integrating a lot of different aspects of this of the different things I know into my own style. I mean, that's part of like this journey as well as
Right.
of the work that I'm doing. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm doing
Well,
really
they
good.
all work really well together, I think, in different components, and depending on the issue, the problem, identifying the problem or whatever, if we have, blindsided to it that we don't even really know kind of what's going on, they're all great avenues to uncover and discover our unconscious programming that's come about, even in vitro. It's like, how are you supposed to figure that one out, right? If you don't kind of have other tools to kind of delve into it. So it's pretty cool that we can do that.
Yeah. And I love the fact too that like a lot of this work, it's like simple, but deceptively so. Like it's so simple, but it's also really, really profound.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's crazy. We're talking about Claire getting the emotion code reports and looking at it and then going, oh my gosh, like, so like specifically dead on, and yet things coming up that you hadn't thought about in like forever or even thought had an impact, or, and it's just like, what? So yeah, it's pretty amazing. What I like is I've worked with you as one of your practice clients, and we did it a little differently in that we did it like in person via Zoom. But feeling the energy, being able to feel it in the body and then reporting back to you too was also super cool. So you could kind of feel where these emotions were like trapped. And it was like so random as they came up. The different emotions going through it all came from different zones. It was like we could almost trail it through. It was very odd, but very cool at the same time. So it's like, yeah, bye. Bye bye, Mr. Emotion. Thanks for stopping in. But yeah, that's very, very cool stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. So how are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm doing okay. I haven't had as much time to kind of dedicate to doing the work that we've been doing within the past couple of weeks. Just because I was traveling and now back and settling back in again. A lot of family stuff seems to be a little bickering, which always sends me. I realize when I get activated, that's still an area that's like, if people aren't getting along, I'm like, ooh. Even though that really shouldn't be really my business, it's their business, but because they're all adults, but it still sends me whirling. So I can feel it in my body. Still need to work on that. And my message today, whoops, I almost read the group message. My message today was from the Crystal Oracle deck. on there. It's very pretty. Sorry. And the card that I got was, it's just all the different crystals. So this one today for me was Australian agate.
Oh, neat.
That way. Sorry. Trying to. So a pretty stone, all kinds of different multicolors in there. And the card was talking about perception, strength, courage, and stamina. So it was telling me my perception or my perceptive. See, my writing as well. It's great as I was scribbling it down. But mental and physical body are all being strengthened, so that I'll have enough energy to tackle what seems to be a present complex and somewhat insurmountable problem. Involves a person who's incompatible with my ideas and principles. I'm to stand my ground, to keep calm and not allow myself to be emotionally or psychologically bullied. This person is simply not the person who they present themselves to be. So of that whole little message, I asked if there was anything in particular, and it was incompatible with ideas and principles. So I was thinking in my life, a couple of people that I would consider not quite in sync with my ideas of how I approach life, and this life, the next life, all how that all intertwines, energetic working, and, you know, working within the realm of kind of the more straight and narrow, whatever. People come to mind or a couple of males in my life, as far as my dad, my ex, you know, have different ideas of kind of the world. But then as I was thinking that, I was kind of also thinking of myself and how sometimes I have that internal struggle of exactly that thing, because I've always been what would you say? Always been the one that's kind of going in the opposite direction of most people that I know. Even in my small group of friends growing up and stuff, talking to them now, they always kind of viewed me as like the wackadoodle one, but you know, the one that was slightly out of the box thinking. Yeah, so like astrology and all those kinds of things I found really cool, even when back in the day it wasn't the thing so much. And then studying psychology and kind of getting into the thoughts of how, you know, people think and how they react to things, and looking at all the different theories behind that and whatever. I found that fascinating. Yeah, so, you know, but then after that, then it kind of became like, oh, job in the real world, job just doing practical things, and then raising children, which, going back to my psychology time, you know, you kind of realize that even if you try your darndest, even if you modify things per kid, you still mess them up somehow because they've misinterpreted something that you've said or done, even though you've gone back and explained it again, but somehow they've taken it on and you just can't fight it. And so yesterday I had kind of a moment with one of my kids, and it was a case of really kind of hating on myself, because the perfectionist in me really wanted to do motherhood well. I kind of went into it thinking I'm gonna probably screw a lot of this up, because based again on the psychology stuff, it's kind of like, even when you try to do it well, and even when you're aware of things, you still step into unconscious patterns of your parents, even if some of them you're aware of and you try and like do different and weave around differently. Things still happen. And so you kind of like, you want it to be right, you want it to be done well, and yet still at the end of the day, you know, issues come up, and like I said, issues between the kids themselves come up, and it's like, why can't we all just get along, love each other, you know? But everybody comes with their own thing, and they're all here to learn their own lessons and figure themselves out and stuff, but it's really hard, you know. So coming to this work, the craniosacral work, first off, you know, that was kind of like, I don't want to say out of the box woo woo, because it is, but it isn't. But, it was like, oh, wow, we're going to like, touch into somebody's feet and we're going to like feel their diaphragm and sense up their spinal cord to see what's going on in their cranium and all the different bones and whatever. And it's kind of like, huh. Yeah. So, it was like, well, I know people do it. So learning how to do it was like, well, let's try this. Right. And so it was a process of, am I really feeling that? Am I not feeling that? And it's like, oh, I am. And then stuff would come up and you're like, well, how the heck would I know that? Like, right. So there was definitely a learning curve of like my woo-woo self kind of trying to become, or my practical self trying to become more woo-woo. And yet really myself was woo-woo to begin with. So it was kind of a coming home to that. But there still is that internal struggle of practicality and normalcy of the world out, at large and how majority of people kind of go through their lives. And then this other realm, which is energy, quantum physics, all this stuff that, science is now coming to back up what we do and what we sense and what we're able to perceive. But there's still that, I know, that internal sort of doubt. So I kind of almost feel that this, like, incompatible with ideas and principles, it's kind of like things I grew up with, I'm still trying to let go of.
Yeah.
Because we learned so many things from 0 to 7 of the world and how it works and how people act and react and what we do, to this shifting time of like doing things differently and seeing things differently. And so I feel like I'm ebbing and flowing, and I'm sure probably there's like a group collective of that ebbing and flowing right now because the world is so like, seems to be slightly upside down for a lot of things. And so I think it just kind of comes part and parcel. I think my realization with all of that is that I have to be okay with the ebbing and the flowing because I tend to fight it. I'm like, no, this works. And it's like, yeah, it does. But then there's still this other thing, and denying it only makes it keep coming back and coming back and coming back. So I think it's more about embracing and having compassion for where all that comes from historically and from society and, just down the line of ancestors, whatever.
Yeah.
And so to not deny it, but to embrace it and maybe to give that doubting little individual a big hug and say, it's okay. That's okay. On a daily basis, sometimes everything all makes sense. And then other days you're like, what is going on? And that's okay too. Because it doesn't always have to be about knowing. In fact, it's like kind of, I don't know. It's like in a session, I don't know what's going to show up. And that's okay. But see, the old side is like, well, I should know what's going on. Well, we don't really know what's going to come down, and we just kind of have to be receptive to that. So I really think it's just about, like with your message, kind of finding that inner compassion for that struggling human who's still ebbing and flowing between all the realms. And again, like I said, switching into, what are we going into? The age of Aquarius, which is like doing things differently and stuff. And so back in the day, I had absolutely no issue with doing things differently. In fact, I really relished and enjoyed kind of being on the cusp of looking at things that people weren't, because I'm like, wow, that's like, woo, that's cool. But, then you become an adult and then you're like, well, okay. So, you think when we're in our milieu of us, dealing with other practitioners and stuff, we're all like, oh, this is so great, whatever. And then you just like step just that much to the side of it. And then you forget and you have a discussion with someone. Then you quickly realize it's like, oh, wait a minute. Not everybody thinks the way we do. And then you're like, oh, retreat.
Oh yeah. My favorite is the 1,000-yard stare that just kind of goes off to the side. Like you're like, even when you're talking about something that isn't even all that woo-woo, I was talking, or was trying to tell like someone about one of the PSYCH-K balances for allergies, which is all about, and he was like, oh, I know it's psychosomatic. I was like, oh yeah, the PSYCH-K stuff can totally help. And he was like, as soon as I like went into like subconscious and whatever, he was just sort of like did this. And it was
Yeah.
okay. So I just sort of like trailed off and let it drop, you know, because like there's no point in wasting your breath at that point.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Well, one of my Reiki teachers, she would say 8 billion people, 8 billion realities. You know, everybody's got their own point of view, which is totally fine. You know, everyone has their own journey, their own thing going on.
Yeah, very true.
Well, and like one of the things you were saying too, that's also I was feeling really related was you know, talking about how raising your kids and like how you wanted to, you know, you're doing the right things, or like psychology, but you always know that something's, because it's like not even all the stuff that you do, and it's not even the like, you know, going to school and having bad things happen because of teachers or other students, but then like, you know, with your kids, it's like what did they inherit epigenetically, you know, what's now, as we're learning, or I mean other people have learned before this apparently, but I'm learning now, is like the inherited trapped emotions, which is also epigenetics, right? Same thing, but it's like a different way to look at it, you know. And the like, and then of course, you know, we, as you know, well, both of us know and have experienced, and to get real woo woo is past life stuff, you know, past life traumas, you know, that are still impacting us. And this, because again, past lives are all parallel, apparently. I mean, that's really hard still a little bit for me to wrap my head around. Like they're all happening now at the same time, you know, because if there's no time, space, whatever. But yeah, all that stuff has an impact on you. So like even you can be, everything can be perfect. And there's still the possibility of stuff coming up, you know, or of like there to be trauma for that person to have to deal with in this life, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, everything comes through our perception of our own perception of things, right? So you could have 10 people in a room seeing a same situation play out, and you know, one person might think it was a friendly intersection of two, whatever they're watching, and someone else is like, oh my gosh, they were fighting. And you know, like, because you're filtering it through your own perception of what you're seeing,
your own experiences.
So, and yeah, like you said, it's having studied psychology and having had the 4 kids, I was quite convinced that, you know, environment was far and above more important than your, you know, it's nature nurture, right? And so I really thought, if you were, because I was raised in a, you know, decent environment in my home and stuff. There wasn't any, you know, major whatever. But having the 4 of them in the same home, in the same situation, they literally came into this plane, their own people, with their own stuff in their own way, including how they handle life, you know, their perceptions of life around them. And literally, I mean, we did that little study thing when we were doing BCST, you know, their birth story coming in, and, you know, their personalities so highly matched their 4 totally different births, which is so weird to me. But it's like when you looking back in class, having to write that up and really think about it, it's like, whoa, that's nuts. So, you know, what you come with definitely has a huge impact. And obviously having a more positive environment is going to be helpful, but it doesn't guarantee how different things experienced around you are going to be interpreted, because you're already having, you know, sensitivities and whatever for things. So yeah, it's quite crazy. Crazy. That's why it's important to do the work, because we don't even know what we're carrying or what's implanted itself where or gotten stuck, you know?
And then there's those of us who have a not optimal childhood, but I think also because of how we come into this world, and our experiences before we get here really also shape who we are. Because like one of the things my dad said, because like he had to leave when I was little, and he was like, and it's my impersonation of my dad, and he's like, I just thank God every day that you and Chris turned out so okay, because I feel so bad, because he has a lot of guilt,
Right.
and he's like just thankful that like neither one of us ended up in jail or
Right. Yeah.
and like I didn't work the pole, that sort of thing. So and I have to, so there's like my mom did the best she could, obviously, as a single parent, but it's like but it's difficult, and a lot of people have different experiences, and sometimes you can get through really rough experiences and be relatively okay and high functioning, even if you're not okay, which is how I feel like I was for a long time. I was high functioning, but I wasn't really okay,
Right. Yeah.
until I started to realize, oh, I really need to take control of the situation of my life, because I don't want my life to be like this anymore. I don't want to be this person. I want to, do better. I want to, I actually want to be happy. I don't want to be depressed all the time. I don't want to
Right.
hang out and, smoke weed and play video games all the time, because I mean, it was fun for a
Yeah.
little bit, but like, maybe went on a little bit too long, but, you just have to realize like everybody has these different experiences. We also all come into this world with different, our own unique souls,
Yeah.
and all the different things that have come before that, and our karma and our epigenetics and all this other stuff. And so like, how can you judge somebody else? Like, it's so easy for people to look at somebody on the street or look at someone who's got a drug problem and be like, oh, well, and be all judgy about it, but you don't know that person's story.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
know what's going on with them, what they've been through in their life. I
Yeah.
have to deal with that with like family member, like not, well, actually with my some immediate family members, but like, we're like looking down on like, because my dad was an alcoholic, and I had my substance use issues, but like, and so like, and some people are like really into like judging because of that stuff, but you don't know what went on with me, or what went on with him, or
Yeah.
what goes on with a person on the street. You don't know what struggles they're facing, and like, because honestly, a lot of times I was like, smoking weed was just a way to be okay, to be alive on this planet,
Right. Right.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
so it's not like anybody becomes an alcoholic or a drug addict because they're like, that's what I want to do with my life.
Yeah. Good times. Good times. Yeah.
No, it's because they are hurting. They have
Yeah.
pain and trauma that they don't know how to deal with otherwise. Because, and honestly, when we were growing up, back in, I mean, things are a little bit different now, that like people are looking at mental illness a little bit differently now, and these issues a little bit differently now. But definitely when we were growing up, it was like it was a personality flaw. It was your fault. No one said, oh, well, that person had a really terrible childhood, or like they were emotionally abused or physically abused. Most people that I know who have, because birds of a feather, when you're in that zone, you're attracting with people on that same vibrational level. Yeah, a lot of my friends in my 20s and 30s had drug and alcohol issues, because we all had similar like energetic trauma issues, or like had shitty childhoods or early childhood aces, whatever, all these things. None of them were all like, yeah, it's just what I really want to do with my life is like, get high and drink and myself into an early grave. Nobody wanted that. It was all a way of coping with a life, a way of finding a way to be okay with being here. And so, yeah, it's one of the reasons why I feel like I'm very like one of the people that, if anybody comes to me with those issues, it's like, no judgment. Been there, done that.
Right.
Friends, all most of my friends are like, have these same issues. It's like, I've got no judgment about that because I know, whereas, but it's so easy for so many people to have that. Like, I won't get too specific with who this person is, but it was a family member, an extended family member. And it was, we were somewhere, they were here on vacation. And she was just working my last nerve. And I'm like, and we were walking by a pot shop, and I was like, maybe you should pop in there and get something to chill the fuck out. And she just went off and was like so pissed and all this other stuff, just because I dared to suggest that she, because like, oh, pot smoking, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's legal. But and then we went to brunch right after, like literally 15 minutes after this. She has a friggin' mimosa in her hand. So I'm like, but that's okay, right. So even that, like, somebody with like who clearly relies on alcohol to help with their stress levels, but then still has judgment, right, because it's not their drug of choice or whatever,
seen socially differently or and
I still have a lot of love for this person. I mean, she's a beautiful person. But it is one of those things where, like, in the moment, and again, it goes back to my message about, all right, making amends and not being, being okay, because she's just not conscious enough to be dealing with her stuff right now.
Right.
And that's her journey. That's her experience. So no judgment in that, like maybe a little bit of judgment at the moment.
In the moment,
there's a bit of judgment. But then, but it's, family dynamics, whatever. But then kind of putting that aside and being like, okay, trying to, that's also definitely one of the things that I continue to work on, is like having compassion. And when stuff like that comes up that triggers me, then just
it's an
having compassion for the other person as well. So, as well as for myself.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I know. It's interesting to what still like seeps in that still activates us.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, they're probably like our biggest not obstacles, but biggest opportunities for growth in trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
As far as stuff goes.
Yeah, it is really interesting. Just to, I mean, how we're saying 8 billion people, 8 billion realities. And in a lot of ways, our messages really work together too, because it's both of them are about judgment. Judgment on yourself and being kind to yourself, and like making amends for like your past stuff, and then also dealing with the judgment of others that may be harming you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think too, the more we work, this is my theory anyway, the more we work on our own self-judgment, or our own, I even say, self-hatred of components of ourselves that we're either aware or even not aware of, the more we then find that compassion for ourselves and delving into that, then we probably won't be met with as much external activation, because we don't need to see it anymore. It's kind of that mirror, right? It's like, oh, here it still is. Oh, great. Thank you for the gift. So working on yourself and working with these processes and letting stuff go, it does become easier and easier and less activating. And then love for self, love for other becomes just kind of matter of factly, as opposed to still having, some challenges. So in that way, it's a win-win. So, which is great, even though sometimes it's not easy to see. Sometimes we don't want to see, but
no.
It's like, mirror the other way. Thanks so much for coming. But,
right.
But it's good. You just have to view it. If you can put it in the context and perception of a gift of more self-awareness and more ability to then heal whatever that is, then that's a good thing for self. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also why it's a journey.
Yeah. Yes, a continuous journey. Yeah, we just have to thank all those people that are showing up to help us out.
Yes.
Journey.
Oh, yes. Well, and that's the other thing too, is like seeing these people as our teachers.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I have quite a few
Mhm.
in my life, and as we all do, and to see like what is this person bringing up for me, what is this interaction with this person bringing up for me, why are because there's definitely the mirror, there's like the matching, it's like, especially when you've seen someone else, something that you don't like in yourself,
right,
and then it's being directed at you, and then you're like, and then you're like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah, light bulb moment.
Right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So do some PSYCH-K about that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You're like, maybe I should go home and journal about that. Drink my chamomile tea and journal.
And journal, exactly.
Yeah.
So true. So true. Yeah.
I know. Make fun. I need to do more journaling. But yeah, it's really, I don't know, interesting dynamic and world we live in. And as you said earlier, mentioned that Pluto just went into Aquarius, so we are up for a couple of hard years coming up. Like traditionally, Pluto switching into a new sign means like 2 pretty rough years.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in this country, the current political environment that is occurring at the moment is kind of like, let's just put a little stamp on that and make sure that the next couple of years are going to suck butt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll see.
That's another hold love and compassion.
I know. I know. And it's funny too, because like the first time he was in office, there was like a group of witches, I guess, that was like wanting to hex him or something. And I'm like, ladies, when I heard about that, it's like, that's not good for you. It's not going to do anything to him, and it's not good for you. It's bad. It's bad juju, right?
To do the opposite. Need all the help again in a positive.
You can only, if you want, that's the thing. And it's the thing that I work on all the time is like when that comes up, like not just people in your face, but these like, things that you can't really do much about, it's like, I voted, sorry, not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, where I live, it doesn't even matter, we're a blue state, but it's like you have to, the only thing you can do is send love, because if you're putting like bad, putting out the negative energy, that's all you're creating. You're just creating more of that.
Yeah. So that's the opposite day.
Yeah. And you can send the love out there. Will it be received? Maybe, maybe not, but that's not up to you anyway. You just do it. You do it for yourself, really, more than anything. Because like that's all this work is like, doing it for yourself, like that Lao Tzu quote that I think on my site, which is like, the greatest gift you can give is that of your own transformation.
Right.
And it's true.
Can I segue that into the group card?
Yes. Did I give you a perfect segue?
Oh, because just as you said that, I'm like, well, along with the message for the audience today, the card that I pulled was from one of my favorite decks. Is this one here?
Oh, pretty.
Yeah, the cards are.
Is that a new one?
This one I got when we were traveling.
Okay.
And look at the cards themselves are absolutely gorgeous as far as the artwork. Look at the backs of them; they're so pretty. Whoops, I'm sorry. Camera. Backwards.
Nice. Oh, I love that.
So
I not see this deck before, or maybe I did, but I bought a whole bunch of decks too.
You were, yeah. I almost thought you got this one, but maybe you didn't.
No.
So the card that came up for the audience today is this one. Embrace your magnificence.
Oh, I love that.
That pretty peacock.
That is beautiful.
So I'm going to read it out of here. I wrote it down, but I can't 100% read all of my writing. I was rushing. So embrace your magnificence. To your magnificent throne, you can return with benevolent acts towards yourself and others. A 4-year-old isn't self-conscious about her power. She plays and struts and boastfully announces her ability to twirl and spit. This is the joy of being, taking up the fullness of your space and strutting the genius of you, unself-consciously, even as a young child would. This is an act of generosity. As you share your brilliance with the world, you grant permission for others to share theirs. So I thought that kind of tied in, and that we're doing it for ourselves, but then it enables others to also do that as well, right? And that's all we can do is be ourselves. But society, we're always trying to put on a construct of what we're supposed to be or how we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
How things are supposed to be when we're all so individual.
Yeah, actually, when you said the thing about the 4-year-old and spinning and twirling, I just thought about myself actually, because like when I was a little girl, I just loved to dance. So, and like I would, so my mom thought she put me in ballet classes and stuff, which wasn't great because I was, taller and whatever, got made fun of a lot because like all the other little girls were perfect and that sort of stuff, and I was not ballerina material even when I was little, so
yeah I can relate to that.
But it didn't matter because I just loved to dance, and so, but it's one of those things too, is like even when things aren't great and perfect, there's always moments of joy, there's always an opportunity to embrace your magnificence and to have those moments of joy where you're just really being yourself, and really loving what you're doing and being in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of forget about that a lot of times, that, and it doesn't, those moments are definitely counterbalance, the other moments that aren't great, the painful moments. And it doesn't detract from, it doesn't mean that those painful moments don't have an impact, but the fact that we can have those times where even, if things aren't great in the world for us or whatever, that we can really, just have this joy, if we let ourselves and give ourselves permission to have some joy. And I feel like this coming couple of years is going to definitely be a time where we're going to have to give ourselves permission to experience joy.
To find the joy. Important.
And to embrace our magnificence, because the only way to counteract darkness in this world is to be our light, to shine our light forward.
Very true. It's funny you're mentioning the dancing thing, and it brought to mind my second child did Irish dancing, not because she really had some affinity to wanting to even go and take a dance class, but a neighbor of ours was doing it and asked if we wanted to go along, and so she said yes. So she had the cute little tie-up shoes and the cute little outfit, but we were never allowed to watch them dance. Dance is kind of one of those weird things sometimes that, again, it becomes very formalized and very like hidden, like we can't share with the other Irish school dance, like, whatever, which I always found just so weird. It's like expression, it's like free, and here we're like, don't look anyone, we have our own. Anyway, that's just a little pet peeve of mine. Judgment. But it was reminding me of when they had their little performance show, which was kind of like like a little competition thing. They'd even, get their little number kind of thing. And so they had, I mean, gosh, she would have only been like 5, 6 at the most. And I just remember getting her ready for this competition-y thing. And she had to have her hair, because part of the style was, as you go through it, when you get older, you get these sort of wig things. So the girls pull their hair back and then put these really curly sort of ponytail thing down. But the little kids aren't at that point yet. And so I curled her hair. So she had all these ringlets. So she looked absolutely adorable. And off we go to this thing. And I haven't really seen her other than what she would practice at home just by herself to show me what she was doing. I didn't really get to see her dance to the music or anything. And so there's a bunch, maybe 10 of the little girls, all, like I said, just all her age. And they all start to dance. And like their dance shoes on the bottom of them, it's kind of like ballet slippers. They have that same kind of like a hard spot, but it's kind of a little bit slippy. So here she goes, poor sweetheart. She starts dancing, and halfway through, she totally wipes out and face plants.
Oh no.
So you're like, right? Well, what did she do? Typical again to her and her personality. Had it happened to my other daughter, I'm sure it would not have gone the same way. But she stood right up as quick as could be and kept right on going. And all I kept hearing around me from the parents are like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Look at her go, right? Because she could have run off crying, going, oh my gosh, I messed up and it was horrible and whatever. But she just kept going. And so that story has continued for like an inspiration for so many people of like, here's her little, she was just going to keep going because she knew her little routine. And so she just stepped right back into it and kept on going. And that's how she deals with life. That's just her. You can knock me down or I'll fall down, but I'll get right back up. And I mean, even as she was older, in high school, one of her friends invited her to go and learn how to do curling. Canadian sport. Don't know. You probably have curling in the States too. But no. I've never.
It's one of those weird. No, it's one of those weird things we kind of make fun of on TV shows like or The Simpsons or something.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people do it though. It's so weird. But anyhow, so she got invited, and she's like, "Should I go?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So she would have been probably like in grade 10. So she probably would have been 16 at the time, 15, 16. And off she went really early in the morning because it's on the rink and you have to like play around the hockey. It was the same thing when I did figure skating. You had to do it super early because then the hockey players were on the rink. I don't know why they can't get up early, but it was always up to the other guys.
It's hockey.
It's hockey.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. It's hockey, A. Sorry.
A. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, priority for the boys. But yeah, so it was lessons to learn. And so it was her friend, and I don't know if it was just the two of them and the instructor. And anyway, poor sweetie, once again, she's not sporty at all. And you have to like slide and like have a heavy thing. You also have to bring with you and also push and slide. So there's a lot of like coordination. I think one foot slips, the other one doesn't. You're kind of in shoes. So you're not even on skates. Like it's just, anyway, like I said, I've never done it. So I can't say. But she kept falling every time she was doing the thing. And I think she did 2 lessons. And the instructor actually said to her, I don't think I've ever seen anyone curl as badly as you have, but have such a great spirit and keep going. So, it's just her nature that she's not scared to make fun of herself. She's not scared to participate. And she'll just give it a good whirl and have fun while she's doing it. And I just, talking about this, that really kind of to me sort of sums that up. It's like people, look to her as opposed to going, oh, wow, like an idiot. Like she's like, doesn't know what she's doing or whatever. But it's more to do with her will to power through it and to have a good time. So she finds joy even in the mishap, even in the, because life's short and why not? And so I feel like she's inspirational in that way, that if we could all kind of take ourselves a little less seriously and not be so concerned about what other people think, and as well as, expressing yourself truly actually ends up helping people to find their own joy, which is what it's saying here, that by being your true self and shining your light allows other people to think, oh, wow, maybe I could do that too. And it doesn't matter if I don't do it right or don't, I mess up or whatever, that it's going to look foolish or, so then you don't do anything because you're just like, oh, right. So, so I think it's awesome. Good lesson. Yeah. Makes me smile.
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, so good messages today.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, that's what I love about the Oracle decks is we get so many great messages from them, because, we use them in our practice. We use them with other people. I was working with somebody yesterday who was like, oh, goody, we get to do messages. And they're all in the Oracle decks. So, yes, any publishers of Oracle decks.
Yes,
again, is it too early to be like, oh, yeah, send us stuff?
We'd love to try it out, see what messages there are. Yes.
We can always have more Oracle decks.
We can, definitely.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, guilty passion for sure, but amazing at the same time.
It is. It's totally fun. So are we feeling complete with this episode?
I think
our first today, episode.
Yeah. You?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's
good. I love how they all interweaved and how we all like just
yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, this has been the pilot episode, the very first episode of Kim and Angela Talk. In future episodes, we'll talk about more woo-woo stuff, and also we will have guests on of other people who are engaged in healing work or who are just themselves and are bright lights, beautiful souls, whoever we can get through. We feel like their story should be shared and their points of views and stuff, because like we said, 8 billion people, 8 billion realities. So we love our realities that we're in. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yay.
But thank you so much for joining us. And since this is our first episode, hopefully you will like it and subscribe, and then you'll watch the second one. And isn't this where people plug that they have, you do the subscribe thing or whatever? I don't know.
And there's like a bell thing so you don't miss the next episode.
Yeah, something like that. Whatever. Like that. If you're watching this, you probably are familiar with the YouTube.
Yeah. Excellent. They'll know what to do.
They'll know what to do. All right. Well, thank you so much. And until next time.
All right. Thank you all. Bye.
Where's the button? Oh, wait, not that one.
Thanks for watching Kim and Angela Talk. Please like and subscribe below. To book sessions with Kim, visit keycranio.com. To book sessions with Angela, visit thisreikilife.com.